Spacefarer. What the UFO? I'm here with Sarah Gamm. Sarah, I'm so honored and thrilled and excited to be talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for asking me to be on. I appreciate it.
This is going to be fun. To set the table a little bit for folks, you're an astrophysicist. You've had some really exciting, interesting roles in the government with the NGA, and I think currently the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm going to ask you about that. So let's just start with your background and your career a little bit.
Yeah, so you got all the things right. My undergrad on paper is physics, but it's technically astrophysics because of a lot of just legal silly stuff from the university in the state of Missouri. So I do come from, I'm a farmer's daughter, so I grew up being a farmer, fourth generation, and then my master's is in countering weapons of mass destruction. I've been in the intelligence community, or if I say IC later, that's what that is, for 19 years now. Well, actually minus a year. So I left and supported NASA and NOAA for a little bit. And so rounding up 20 years. And now I have made my way to working for Army Corps of Engineers, USACE. So that has been incredible so far. I have had a very fortunate career, and I know I still have a lot of years to go, but I've been able to do a lot of support from, fighting terrorism to, I don't know, all kinds of things. So been pretty lucky.
Wow. So your entry was in 2006, is that right? And where did you start? What agency did you sign up with?
I was a contractor for Lockheed Martin. I worked at ADF East, Aerospace Defense Facility East, with NRO, National Reconnaissance Office. And at the time, the site wasn't open yet, which means NRO didn't acknowledge that they had ground stations. So that was my first intro into the classified world as a very youngling, fresh out of college.
Wow. I guess it didn't occur to me until just now to say thank you for your service, but thank you for your service.
You're welcome. I was never active duty, by the way, but I have definitely served our country and allies in many ways instead of joining active duty.
That was a kind of a hot time to show up for active duty support, at least. Like there were pretty active war on terror activities going for active activities. Yeah. It was a hot time for 10 years.
Immediately, I've been fortunate because I spent quite a few years trying to help find Osama bin Laden. And I got an award from the DNI, Department of National Intelligence. No, Director. Oh my gosh, I had that wrong. I'm Director of National Intelligence. And so I actually got an award signed by the director helping with get Osama bin Laden.
Wow. Was that Avril Haines, the DNA at the time, or was it?
No, Clapper.
Or Clapper. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Cool. That's amazing. So is it fair to say that much of your behind the scenes work has been sensor related and like specifically satellite related? Is that where your like astrophysicist expertise came into your military engagement?
Well, most of things don't relate to astrophysics. The degree just helps me understand, orbitology and sensors, energy, traveling to and from sensors, especially from, satellites orbiting Earth. So it helps the understand and have a good foundational frame for a lot of my jobs, especially as I went down the nuclear route. That helped me understand a lot of the background. So of course I know how a bomb goes boom, but I didn't quite know the intimate details of the background of nuclear weapons and WMD. And I knew of the Manhattan Project, of course, but so having the foundational physics, astrophysics background has helped tremendously over my career of being able to easily understand some things.
Wow. Okay. So you start with Lockheed and then, I'm sorry, I think you just said this, but did you move right into the NGA or was there an intermediate?
I asked around. I had a curvy road. I found out I what I liked and what I didn't like for a few years after Lockheed. and eventually discovered how much I love SAR, synthetic aperture radar imagery. I'm so sorry. I have random hiccups. Um, and I ended up, who was I working with at the time? Boeing. So I was working for Boeing as a SAR image scientist. Again, that's synthetic aperture radar. So it's an active sensor, kind of like sonar on a boat. Sonar sends and receives pulses. It's energy. So that relates back to my physics background of understanding energy, and so the images aren't like, the pictures or like the camera that we're on right now. It's fuzzy, it's black and white, it's globology and good job security because people don't always like to look at it. But there's a lot of science and math behind the data. And I fell in love with it. So that's from Boeing was when I swapped over to NGA and was working as a government employee then.
Okay, cool. So
and I
that's your
was
first.
SAR image scientist for NGA was my first role at NGA there.
Cool. And did you get security clearances before becoming a member of the government? Like, did you need security clearances as a contractor?
Yeah, I got my clearance. I filled out the paperwork before I even graduated college.
Whoa. Did they come recruit you? Did somebody show up in a suit?
Lockheed Martin. So I was trying to apply to jobs. I knew I didn't want to go right into grad school. I needed a break from school for a little bit. And actually, my oldest brother, he gave my resume to a handful of companies, and I was applying to a few. And Lockheed called me and said, "We want to fly you out to DC for an interview." After the interview, they said, "We're thinking about hiring you for California or for DC." And I said, "I'm young, ship me anywhere." So
Nice.
DC is where I went. And 19 years later, I'm still here.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. But that first job had a TS SCI clearance.
Top secret security compartmented information. What's the SCI part?
Yeah.
Okay. So then did your clearance level change over the years of your work, or did you start and keep at the TS SCI?
Yeah, I've always had my SCI. So I did leave the government in 2022 for a startup company. And I still had my clearance there and was able to go to like NGA for meetings. So I've always had my SCI active.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Does the SCI mean that you can be read into a special access program?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, you're totally right.
Okay.
So it's SCI eligible is really what it is. So you could be read into programs because it's just a different level of adjudication process that the adjudicators have to do and the investigators do. So you could have a TS clearance but not have the SCI eligibility because the job might not need it. And you get paid more when you have SCI. So, those three little, acronyms, those three little letters mean you get paid more. And then if you have a counterintelligence CI poly or polygraph, you also, increase in pay, right? But that increases in what you know. And the risk that's involved if you do unauthorized disclosure to the media or during interviews and stuff. So I have had many CI polys over the years as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the SCI stands for Special Compartmented Information. And the CI stands for Counterintelligence. Yeah. Okay. We're not sure about the SCI. You haven't had to think about this for so long, basically.
Yeah, secret. Yeah, sensitive compartmented information. Yeah, I haven't actually had to think about what the acronym means for a while. That's I don't know, slightly embarrassing, maybe. But yeah, sensitive.
You work at the level you need.
Yeah, sensitive compartmented information.
Okay.
That's really funny that I haven't really. It's just acronyms you hear. That's just standard. Everything. So it just becomes a part of lingo instead of saying what it is. Sorry.
Yeah, it becomes the word. No, it's okay. I apologize for my ignorance as a layperson. I'm just very curious about this stuff.
Yeah.
So TS, SCI, and
here, you just don't know. You're not a part of all of this every day like I am.
Yeah, lucky for me because I don't think I could handle it. Great work. So just to keep tracking your progress here, Lockheed to Boeing, Boeing to NGA. and then you're with NGA for.
No, there was a rocky road between Lockheed and Boeing.
Okay.
But yeah, NGA, and I had many jobs, a lot of different roles while I was at NGA. I was very fortunate in what I was able to do and see and be a part of. But after I got my master's degree, it's in countering weapons of mass destruction. I found I kind of liked it, and I really wanted to get out of the imagery world for a little bit. So as I backed myself in a corner, I was a biostatics expert, and there were only a few of us at NGA that worked on that topic, on that subject. And so I needed to, spread my wings a little bit. So I got a joint duty assignment at ODNI and Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still getting a paycheck from NGA, but I was having a 2-year rotation at ODNI at NCBC, National Counterproliferation and Biosecurity Center, which unfortunately, I don't know if it officially doesn't exist anymore, but the change to dissolve NCBC happened, I don't know how long ago now, but sometime this year.
Okay.
So very, very proud work that I got to do there. And then after that was when I left the government and worked for the startup company. Then worked my way back to working for SAIC as a contractor for NRO, and then at the Pentagon. So I transferred my job with SAIC to work at the Pentagon, supporting the Air Force doing nuclear modeling analysis. Campaign analyst, I think it was what my job title was, nuclear campaign analyst. And then left there to be a govie again. So now, hence my current job with Army Corps of Engineers.
Interesting. SCIC, I'm not familiar with. Service contract industry? No, probably not.
Science, SAIC, science.
SAIC. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's also an acronym that I don't remember what it stands for.
Okay, cool. And NRO, National Reconnaissance Organization?
Office, yeah.
Okay.
National Reconnaissance Office. And NGA is National Geospatial Intelligence Agency.
Okay, cool. So all of this stuff is getting you pretty close to the topic we're going to cover mostly today, which is UFOs. And somewhere in this SAIC NRO period, is that when you got involved with the task force, or was there one more step after SAIC NRO before you started liaising with the task force?
You had such a curvy road of jobs. I love it.
It's really fun. Thank you for walking us through it.
Yeah. So, and there's Krypton in the background. Hi.
Hi, Krypton.
So while I was working for NGA in the research directorate is when I started supporting the task force.
Okay. So you went from SAIC and NRO back to NGA, and that's when you start.
No, So
okay.
I'm sorry. So I in 2019, I had just graduated with my master's degree in the WMD field and CWMD. So at that point, I was working for NGA in the research directorate. And I come across my desk was a report of a nuclear missile site somewhere in the world that said that there was this unidentified object that flew over and messed with the systems. And so I thought, oh my gosh, here's my moment. I have, this astrophysics degree and this WMD degree. And then I also grew up being the biggest X-Files fan ever. So I started trying to find people to talk to and found the right ones. And then eventually my director in research at NGA was asking for people to support a task force. And I was like, oh my gosh, I already know some of the people on it from things that I had been doing. And so I basically gave an argumentative essay right there to him and didn't allow him to tell me no. So that's how I officially got on the task force. Boeing was much before that. And then Army Corps was much after that. So this is in 2019.
Okay.
I left Boeing in 2013.
Got it. Thank you. Also, just before I press into the UFOs, which is obviously what I'm most interested in, is the SAIC the Science Applications International Corporation?
Winner. Yes, I knew it started with science.
Okay. So this is not a U.S. government agency, it looks like. This is a private company, but they were working
Yeah,
with
it's a
the
contractor. Yep.
NRO?
So
Got
with
it.
with like the government and the DoD, so you have your govies, like what I am now, and then you have the contractors that support it. So I was a contractor for half my career and a govie for the other half. And all my contracting work I did, no, I shouldn't say all. A good portion of the contracts that I supported were for NRO, National Reconnaissance Office.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. So moving into task force territory, can we clarify your role a little bit? Because I've heard people sort of debate and discuss this with a little bit more passion than is probably necessary. But
Agreed. Especially since folks I have been very open and honest and very specific at my words. And so some of the people doing the debating have possibly never seen my interviews because I'm very specific at what I say. um, I supported the task force from NGA. So each agency that so the task force was completely volunteer. And then it was not like, for me, it wasn't my full-time job. So the director was like, spend 10%, 20% of your time on this a week, whatever you could give in your, like, if you have some spare time or something from your main projects. So that's what I did. And so I can't speak for other people from other agencies if this was their full-time job or not. But I supported it from NGA. So I never went to like the overarching meetings with the seniors on the task force. I reported to the NGA lead. I knew of a few others on the task force from other DoD agencies or entities. But I never met them in person. I, very strictly supported from NGA. So I only looked at imagery or video data for it and was on this like small corner because it was, NGA well, maybe you don't know, I shouldn't have said that, but NGA for the intel community wise, they do imagery and video analysis. And so like NRO does satellite building and launching and operations. So they have to work together. So I got to know a lot of the NRO folks that supported the task force as well.
interesting. Okay, so news to me that this task force encompassed multiple agencies. Did it have like a home office and then there were people supporting it in a bunch of other DoD and DoD related agencies? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, there was again, it was volunteer basis. So I think there was, I've never actually counted, but I think there was at least 5 different intelligence communities that agencies that were supporting and a part of it. And then there was also the ODNI as well. And different organizations within the Pentagon, and then even some of the military branches. So I was working a little bit with the Navy when the COVID shutdown happened. I was starting to work a little bit with the Navy to do an exercise to try to duplicate some of the stuff that they had observed. And then the shutdown. So
that's interesting.
I
So they
hope
were
that
doing
exercise ended up happening one day. So, but I never found out if it did.
Oh, that's a cool idea. So they were going to try to replicate some of the unusual movements that they saw, for example.
Yeah. Try to debunk or see if it, if let's say if something was truly anomalous that came in, like maybe it'll come in again and we'll have more sensors to record things, because that's always the problem is sensors and data quality of those sensors. So we were going to try to be ready with more things looking out and recording and COVID.
Right. Okay. So this is very cool. You're kind of blowing my mind here because you're broadening my vision of the task force significantly. So my understanding is that the Pentagon, the home base is in the Pentagon. Is that right? And I also want to ask, are we talking about ATIP or ALSAP or something else when we
No,
say
this
the
was
task
the
force?
UAP Task Force. It was the task force that I was a part of. Um, I'm so sorry. Allergies, fall
Oh,
allergies are happening here.
well,
Um,
somebody's been
I,
waving their tail in your face, so that's not
yeah,
on you.
yeah, that's true too. No, I don't. Just for political reasons, I know people are going to nitpick my words.
Mhm.
So I'd rather stay out of the debate on where it was based out of and all of that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the task force, it was amazing. It was so incredible, the collaboration and the diversity that was there, and everybody was working for the same cause. It was before a lot of the toxicity of the politics got involved with it.
Mhm.
And it was some of those people still to this day, they're like family to me. We
Mm.
still talk, and I got to see a handful of them recently. And it was amazing. Just like, look how far we've come, and this has grown so much. And just to think how it started with a handful of people just being curious and wanting to join, not for publicity, not for our names being out there. I never ever would have imagined being in this seat right now, speaking publicly about it. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey. But yeah, the task force days, the bonds that we all made with each other were pretty incredible. And I don't know if that could ever be duplicated in another job in my career, but yeah, I feel very fortunate.
Curious about whether those bonds extended through multiple agencies, or were you guys, I would imagine there must be some kind of firewall between, you described 5 intelligence services plus ODNI plus some Pentagon branches. That suggests to me that probably not. It's not like everybody was on one big Slack channel, like talking to each other across all these branches. Is that right, or was there actually a fair amount of communication between the branches?
Yeah, so I can't speak to that because I only communicated usually with my NGA lead, but my relationship with a few others outside of NGA was because of a collaboration tool that we were able to exchange data and comment and pass stuff through. It was I had never heard of anybody else saying that there might have been some animosity or this is my lane or anything. I mean, it was a volunteer basis. You didn't have to participate, for at least from the NGA perspective, they gave us the option. So people were doing it because they wanted to be there and they wanted to support and they wanted to find out what this was and is this a threat? And all of the questions we still have to this day, that's what we were basing everything off of. So, never knew of anybody talking about like actual, NHI or not non-human intelligence or anything like that, because I was just looking at videos
Mhm.
and imagery. I'm still trying to think if there was any rifts or anything. And I never heard of anybody saying, this is my data or don't look at this and, kind of stovepiping.
Yeah, I
It
meant
really,
more like,
truly was incredible.
did you guys know who each other were? Like, did you know all the other, because it's volunteer and because there's so many agencies, were you aware even of the like scale of the footprint or like number of people who were working on this, or
I had no idea.
no?
I don't think I'll ever know like how many were at, NRO fully supporting it or other agencies or entities. Um, I know the NGA distro was very large because again, it was volunteer basis. And so not everybody would respond to an email and because they didn't have the time. So the distro was pretty large there. Um,
Distro for
what was your
distribution. Sorry, that's lingo that's new to me.
Oh, sorry, distro. Yeah, distribution.
Okay.
So you'll have an email saying WTF UFO email slug, and it'll be you and 10 people on your staff, and so it'll go to everybody, and so it's like I'm gonna make this up, NGA UAP distro, and so yeah, distribution list.
Okay. Cool. So you've got some people that you're quite close to who are in the NGA. Were there people that you formed bonds with who were in other agencies as part of this?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I still talk to them now. Like I was able to talk to one of the guys last week, and it was really cool catching up and being like, this is really, look how far we've come. And yeah, I just actually celebrated my year of coming forward and
Nice.
publicly speaking about UAPs this week on
Wow.
9/11.
Wow.
So like doing the reflection and also being able to talk to some of the people still have been, yeah, it's been mind blowing, especially like the toxicity that's in the community now, and seeing how far that's come over the years when politics and egos start getting involved is really sad. But yeah,
Mm.
my bond with I call it the OGs, the original group. Um, we were a special bunch, and I still trust all of them with my life. I became really close friends with a few folks at NRO and other agencies that I don't know if they'd want me to say, so I
Okay.
won't.
So you guys built is it right to say that you guys built a database of the things that you were looking at and you shared these across the task force? Did that connect to your communication tool that you were using? Were those the
Um,
same thing?
there's two different things. I never was a part of the more known database. I sent stuff directly to my NGA lead, and then he would do whatever he needed to with it, put it in like their official database or not. So there's a separate collaborative database that some of the task force members were using. And so that's two separate buckets.
Okay.
The collaborative site is its own thing, and a chat tool, that's its own thing. And then there was a task force. So I was a part of both entities, and I was a part of the chat tool for many years after I left the task force.
Okay, so the chat tool had some kind of like database qualities where you're sharing imagery, and then there's the task force, and they had some official database, but you were only submitting your imagery up to your NGA lead, not to like the task force leads or whatever. You weren't
Of
interacting
course,
directly
yeah.
with
NGA
task
leads the
force.
only one I really directly interacted with. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really boring question right now before a really fun question. But as a layman, I've been really interested in the intersections between the intelligence community and the military community. I just want to clarify, I think I have this right. If you say the Pentagon, you're referring to like the DoD and all the departments that work for the DoD. That would include all the branches of the military. But if you say the intelligence community, that's a different thing that involves intelligence agencies. And is there some crossover? Because I know all the military branches have their own intelligence agencies. And so I would imagine, like, if I say the Pentagon, the CIA is not included in that. Is that right?
Um, it's all the above. So I consider there's yeah, so that's a good question though, because folks usually refer to as the Pentagon as military, which I mean, it's a military base type building, but it also has a lot of DoD in it. You know, NGA has an office there, and other intel community agencies have offices within the Pentagon, so they have representation on some of the things there. But the intelligence community also includes the military. So NGA, I'm going to keep talking about NGA because that's what I'm familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
They have, active duty and reserves that support the agency. And I don't work for them anymore. NGA has their a warfighter support agency. So their email addresses are .mil. So .mil means, military support, just like you would have army.mil email addresses. So a lot of the IC agencies are military support. So NRO is NRO.mil as well. So a lot of them have military active duty and reserves that are embedded within them, and they have so many I'm going to call them billets, so many military billets that are within. NRO is very heavy with the Air Force, so they have a lot more Air Force individuals that are working there. So if you were to walk around NRO headquarters, that's you would see a a mixture of a lot of people and also military uniforms there.
Okay. So I guess the bigger picture that I'm trying to draw here is that the military and the intelligence communities they do have distinct sort of loci of power within them, but they are heavily overlapped in many ways. Is that accurate?
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. When I was working for or supporting the Air Force in my last job when I was at the Pentagon, I wasn't, of course, considered IC at the time, but we had computer accounts to communicate and collaborate with the IC. So, at some points we had to rely on other IC entities to get our job done and to get information.
Interesting. I think this is something that lay people have less intuition about, or I did coming into this role. Like, I have a pal who's a Marine. He's like pretty advanced in his career. Sometimes he reports to 5 different people. And that like blew my mind learning that there's just all this like lateral intersection. And I think of like a big tangled thicket of roots, because it is all related to like one organism kind of, but it moves in different directions and it's confusing to track.
And it gets, I could keep going on the confusion too, but there's different, money comes from different places. So you have like Title 10 and Title 50, and then like overseeing different labels of money from Congress. And it is a very confusing, more confusing than what you're saying too. Come on. So, yeah.
So this relates to the UFO subject because things can be studied in different areas of the military and intelligence communities. Groups that are working on stuff might not be talking to each other. Some things might be secret from other parts of the government. And something that people often float as like a debunking explanation, which is like there could be secret tech, might not be well known throughout the whole organization. So it is likely the case that there's secret military technology that much of the military and intelligence communities don't know about. They don't even know it exists. So moving toward, I guess that set us a nice skeptical frame to move toward this more fun question, which is what kind of stuff did you see? My general impression from listening to you, I've listened to all your interviews, I think, is that you saw some things in these images and videos that you felt certainly could not be human technology. And it sounded to me like some of your colleagues would have agreed with you. So I'd like to ask you, do I have that right? Am I characterizing your statements accurately? And if not, would you like to explain further?
Yeah, no, you got it spot on. I feel so lucky being able to say this, that there's a lot of data and a lot of videos and imagery that I was able to see over the years, and there are definitely a small percentage that are unidentified. So when I was on the task force and we couldn't figure out what something was, so we would do it wasn't you look at the video and then you bless it with a thumbs up or thumbs down. It was sometimes months of research into whatever, let's call it a video, or I said video, so let's call it a video. So if video comes across, it wasn't just glancing at it and going frame by frame. It was reaching out to where the video came from, and let's say it was a drone, who operated it that night. Can we get their chat log, and what's the weather? And so it was an extensive amount of research that was done. And if it was labeled as unidentified, I should say that it wasn't necessarily meaning it was extraterrestrial. It just was like unidentified. So years later, while I was doing that collaboration tool support, I'm off the task force, but I'm still a part of this collaborative tool. We actually discovered something we labeled as unidentified during the task force days, that it was a balloon. And so it was a weather balloon. So we went back and actually were able to update our files. So, science is dynamic, right? You're always learning, you're always evolving, and you're always using your data points. So years later, we were able to update something that was unidentified, and now it's identified.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling now, but I was able to see a few things that were completely anomalous, and it was just incredible. It was something that, at first you see it and you think, okay, so parallax, all right, and you think through things, and my science brain's very active, and I'm going through the process of elimination, right? And well, balloon can't just like turn and pivot like that, because the wind wouldn't do that sudden, like, whether it was an 80-degree turn or whatever. Um, and then sometimes going in and out of water, or oh yeah, it was really cool. So a few small percentage of things I was able to see were definitely unidentified.
Cool. If you don't mind, I'd love to ask you like 6 or 7 more questions about this particular area. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll answer what I can.
Okay. Great. Thank you. One simple question is, how many things generally do you think you saw that you felt were certainly not human, or almost certainly non-human technology? Was that like 2 or 3 things? Is it like 10 or 20 things? Can you give me a ballpark?
I never thought about counting, like, using the fingers type, counting. I have the NAS percentages, and it would be small, like 5%, 5 to 10% of what I was able to, maybe even small, like we'll call it 5%. And I'm sure I probably use a different number every time, but it's very small on what was deemed anomalous, because like the sensors out there, we always want something better.
Mhm.
FLIR, just like what was released to Congress, the data was still a little fuzzy because the sensor quality. So thermal cameras do have a little bit more pixelated values than others, and so some things might have been unidentified just because we couldn't figure out what the blob was, and there's thermal shadowing when things move around. Um, so yeah, I still say a small percentage.
And in absolute numbers, is that small percentage like 20, like 50, like
Yeah,
10?
I really don't know that. I can't. And
Okay.
I personally only saw a fraction of what others did.
Okay. Um, I'm wondering about moments like I would imagine there's a difference between things that sort of cocked an eyebrow for you that were like, oh, that's weird. I wonder what it might be. And maybe some things that you thought, well, that really looks technological, and I can't explain it. So it's either a secret tech from humans or it's a secret tech from something non-human. Is it right to draw that kind of line? Were there a few moments that you felt you were looking at something that was definitely technological and would have had to be a technology that you weren't aware of, whether it was human or non?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our adversaries are always trying to develop things to destroy other countries and ourselves. So that was a lot of the first thoughts, is this adversarial technology we just haven't seen yet.
Hmm.
So we'd go to the analyst that knows the area well of wherever the data was taken from, and talk to them about what goes in and out and what they observe, and if this is odd for them to see. And so yes, there was definitely some stuff that we were like, well, if this is adversarial technology, this is cray cray. Like,
Mm.
this is something we need to jump on and more people need to be aware of. So it was kind of neat from that perspective to um uh, I'm trying to think of the right word, but to present some possible undiscovered technology to some folks.
And jumping off your point there about asking your colleagues whether this seemed unusual to them, were there some moments that were there some like sightings or some videos that you and your friends in this task force agreed were extremely unusual?
Oh yeah, there were some that we would all of us would be like, yep, don't know what this is, unidentified. And then there were some that we'd be divided about. Some people would say this is unidentified, and others would say it was XYZ. And so There were times where we were split and divided. So, the overall seniors of the task force would have to figure out what they wanted to do. So because we would just pass them our data, right, and maybe not see it again. So yeah, we didn't always agree, but we still respected each other's opinions, and we would agree to not agree or whatever.
I'm curious about whether there were some moments where a bunch of you said, this can't possibly be human.
Yeah, for sure. There's, uh, I always joked that back when, like, supporting everything days, that it was always a good day when I got to say the term flying brain. But there were things that we saw, and one of them called the flying brain. So it's like a plasma-ish thing that would change and morph, and it looked like a brain. And I have said this in some other interviews, and it sounds so weird and silly to say, but there's no other way to describe it. And it has a little bit of the stem, but there's this energy type field or in plasma around it that it like changes a little bit and morphs. And it just sounds so crazy to say, but I can't, yeah, I can't unsee it. It is crazy. I can't count how many times I would watch some of the other anomalous things that we saw. And it's just, yeah, it's really cool.
So to that point, was there overlapping or repeating form factor? Were you seeing like a bunch of brains? Or did you only see one? Were there triangles, tic tacs?
That's a good question. Very good question. I think I didn't see the flying brains much. That was like just a few small times. But I'd say the most common one was like the typical tic tac because of the FLIR videos.
Okay, and that would come from like gun cams on fighters. Is that right? Or
Yeah, it could be that or drones like an MQ-9, Reaper, Predator.
the only question on my list that I think you might not be able to answer is I'm curious about satellite video.
Mhm.
Did you see some anomalous stuff on satellite video?
So satellite video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
This
you were
is
right on that assumption. I'm trying to think of my words. So I will switch that
okay.
and say satellite imagery. Um, yes, I did see some anomalous stuff that I consider completely unidentified. Even to this day, I don't know what it is. It
Cool.
was pretty clear data. Um, and I'm very hopeful one day the thing that I'm seeing in my brain right now will be released to the public. I'm an optimistic person. And so I'm very hopeful that it'll be released because I don't see why it shouldn't be.
Same. I'm curious about in this area 5 observables like the rapid acceleration, quick turns. The other 3 are also good. I don't remember them all, but uh, did you count up to the 5 observables? Did you just see a few of them repeatedly?
Yep. Yep. And the ones that were anomalous
Mhm.
or unidentified,
Mhm.
yeah, they would definitely have the 5 observables. So there are definitely videos that something looks very crazy and your brain immediately will jump to, because you're hopeful, right? You're hopeful to find something anomalous and then be able to figure out what it is and where the technology come from and is it adversarial and all that. But you're hopeful that we might actually have something extraterrestrial. So you see something that looks crazy at first, but then when you really look at it, oh, that looks like it's floating along the wind. That's moving in a straight line for 17 minutes. It's not fluctuating. Maybe it kind of veers a little bit, but it doesn't turn, doesn't maneuver. You don't see G forces. You don't you don't see color shift or anything like that. So yeah, so the 5 observables are definitely a good guideline.
What are the big red flags or green flags or just exciting flags when you see something do Like, I don't know, I'm imagining maybe a quick turn, a sudden acceleration, and then a stop would be like a weird combination, because if something could stop, then it wasn't a balloon.
Yeah. Or parallax. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something stops. The camera's going to keep going and then be like, oh, wait, where did that go? And sorry. And you could see that there's like the very sudden stop and start. Yeah, I forgot where my thoughts are going right there. Sorry.
Yeah, I
My
guess I
hiccup
was just
distracted me.
asking, what were the things that lifted your eyebrows the most, and were stops
Thank
and
you.
starts on that list?
I'd say the start, stop, acceleration, pivot, G-force pivot that no human could withstand.
Mm.
Um, Going from one transmedium to another, like water and above, and takes off. And yeah, and then because I try not to use the face value as something, because balloons, a cluster of balloons looks really weird in thermal imagery and it looks pretty anomalous. But I try not to take that face value of something looking crazy for me to jump to conclusions first. Which I hope now the public, it's just so hard to differentiate what the brain sees and being hopeful. And then if it's not maneuvering, or if it's floating, and like maybe it's floating and then it slowly decreases in altitude, that's likely balloons, going down. Yeah, so it's hard not to take things for face value, but you have to do this when trying to when you're limited to the sensor technology that you are.
A big moment for me in this research was the ODNI report to Congress in 2021. And one of the things that was like a big flashing light is that they said some of the objects they were reporting on exhibited evidence of advanced technologies. Basically, some sensor recordings looked like advanced technology. And then the report goes on to say we couldn't confirm that this was secret US tech, and we couldn't confirm that it was adversarial, although, we'd leave the door open to one of those two explanations. I guess I'm curious about the intuition that you're looking at a technological object, and the difference between that and like a balloon or something. Maybe I don't have a good question here. Do you want to try anyway?
I don't know where you're going.
Okay.
Neither does Krypton. I don't know if you heard him meow.
Okay, he's trying to get me back on track. I guess what's weird about this conversation is that from the outside, not looking at sensor data or video evidence, the intuition of many people who are skeptical about this, and even I'm not very skeptical, but I like try to think carefully about it. It's so easy to intuitively feel like you were just kind of confused, that you saw something that, as you said, you were like sort of hoping was more interesting than it ultimately turned out to be. And what I'm curious about is this gulf between my own intuitions as a layperson with no access to this technology, and then like the intuitions of experts like you who are looking directly at the sensor readouts, having these moments. And I'm just sort of trying to ask a question that gets to the difference in our feeling. Like, is it frustrating to you that sometimes people from outside just kind of assume that you and your colleagues must have been sort of fundamentally confused about stuff that you were looking at? And would you like to say, hey, we know what we're doing, we're experts, and when we say something is anomalous, it's because it's really freaking weird?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll use an example that's happened where we spent months worth of research on a video, and it was illegally produced to some media. The outcome of the video, face value, it looks very crazy. This is years ago, by the way, so this isn't anything within the past year. It's prior to that. But face value, it looked anomalous. It looked not from Earth. But with all the research that we did and the people interviewed and talked to, physics calculations made, all kinds of stuff that I never would have learned about before being on the task force, came to a conclusion that it was not anomalous. But somebody, because things look crazy, and if somebody comes across, the report or whatever they did, I can't speak for them because it's so illegal what they did, but released some things to some media, and the media deemed it as, unidentified, and it was a UAP, when we spent months and months debating it and figuring out that it wasn't. That's not the first time it's happened where somebody takes, a still image of a long video, something that looks crazy, and releases it to the media. So that's called unauthorized disclosure, and why I'm saying it's illegal. So you sign paperwork and you say an oath when you go into the intelligence community with clearance. And I get frustrated that people, I don't know whether they're doing it on purpose, knowing it's something that is terrestrial based. I have no idea their motives, if they need 5 minutes of fame or what, but it's really frustrating from the analysis side when people spent lots of government dollars investigating this and it's not a UAP. Somebody takes a still image and says, run with this. This is anomalous. And, but that's what, if somebody handed you something like that, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you'd post it, right? Because you would trust the source. And it's been really frustrating from that end. I don't know if that really fully directly answered what you were asking, but
it was interesting though.
Yeah. This was maybe a side story that it was just very, unauthorized disclosure. It's very frustrating that folks tend to not provide the whole picture and all the work that was put behind it.
I have a few more interesting questions in here. One is, do you ever see anything really big? Every now and then we hear these like larger than a football field style claims. Do you ever see anything like that?
On the task force, no. Trying to think again. In person, no. Nothing massive football field size, sorry.
Okay. Another question that I was kind of excited about is if you're looking at this kind of, you're looking with advanced sensors at the playing field of the world. Did you see some other anomalous stuff that you think was classified tech, either US or adversarial?
I cannot answer this question. I'm really sorry.
Nuts. Okay, cool. Well, I feel like that
got me sweating. I can't. I don't like. I don't. Yeah. No.
No, that's great. That makes me happy. I asked something good. Okay. Pivoting from that, I feel like we've done a good job with a kind of a skeptical frame here. So maybe it'd be fun to move into more of like a hypothetical, engaging with the possibility frame. And on our way there, I'd like to ask just sort of an intuition question, not a science question, but like, do you personally have the intuition that some of what you saw was non-human technology?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. During my journey on the task force, and I call it a journey because it was evolving all the time, I was taking spiritual classes and doing spiritual training to become a psychic medium. So I kind of would just have that gut feeling. Like everybody has that intuition and that gut feeling, right? And I would kind of tap into that a little bit more and just be like, oh, hey, welcome in, as I'm like watching the video.
Wow. I'm very interested in the spirit stuff, and I'd love to spend some time on it in a moment. But to stay in the sensor room quickly, do you think you had friends on the task force who shared this intuition that you were looking at non-human technology? And would you say that's like a couple people, or was this like a widespread intuition?
I like this question a lot because we never really talked about it. So while I was on the task force, I didn't advertise what I was doing these classes after my master's degree was when I started the spiritual training. We didn't really talk about that. I now know some of the people better, and I would say yes, that they did have that intuition, but we never talked about it then. We were very strict on keeping basically a straight line. We were looking at the data, we were looking at the science, we were not talking about bodies and NHI and consciousness. And so hindsight, yes, but in the moment, no.
Interesting. Okay, well, so sticking on just the intellectual side, do you think some of your colleagues reached the rational, logical, just like purely intellectual conclusion that they were likely looking at some non-human technology?
Yeah, I hate speaking for them. Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. I'm curious about, this is not really a question with an answer probably, but I'm curious about why you're so alone out here in terms of people reporting that they've had these sensory experiences. It seems like it's gone pretty well for you. You've been able to share this information without blowback or legal repercussions. So I am curious about why we haven't seen a sort of flood or even a trickle of other members from various agencies involved with the task force saying, look, I saw this stuff too. Would you like to speak to that, or I can move on to a next question if not?
No, I could definitely speak to it. I've been more selective at interviews I do. Each interview that I do is a risk at my career because I might say the wrong thing. I might respond to that question that you had earlier and say two wrong words and my career's over. So I do get drained and exhausted. My brain is like hyper focused on making sure I don't slip up.
Okay.
But I can say this has not been an easy road. I don't know if I'd wish others on it. And that's probably why more aren't public about it. I mean, just like, well-known journalists trying to discredit me instead of reaching out to talk to me first, they go to slander and they go to discredit and they try to pull other people in to also feed the lies. And one of them had my phone number. We talked earlier that year. They could have called. They could have talked. And I've had clearance issues. My clearance has been threatened because of the lies and the attempt at discredibility. It it's caused a lot of anxiety, sleepless nights, and stuff that's, I'm not getting paid for this. I haven't made a dime. I'm not asking to make a dime, so I'm not asking for money for anything. I'm doing it for the cause, and that this needs to be known. Other people, that good friend group that I have, none of them want to go through this. Some of them still have, clearances and jobs where they don't want to risk their life. They don't want to risk their family. I'm not even a full-blown whistleblower, and I've been going through hell a lot of days from this, especially last year. I was grieving my cat's death and was getting slandered and discredited when all I do at work is fight terrorism and try to help people sleep at night in this country and our allies. And that was what happened. So, I haven't been overly public about the negative things, but I have gotten hate messages. I have gotten, you name it, the silliest stuff of I'm a fast talker, so therefore I can't be trusted and I'm a grifter. And okay, all right, well, I'm sorry you can't handle the truth. Like, you could scroll on. You don't need to send me these messages. It's been, I have thick skin. I grew up in a small town where gossip was queen. And so I'm used to being talked about, but some of what I have gone through has gone to my heart and has been difficult, especially with my clearance issues. That was unexpected. I have filled out, it's something that's called the SF-86. I don't know what the SF stands for anymore, but it is a form that you have to fill out periodically for your clearance. You used to have to do it every 5 years, 5 to 7 years, depending on the adjudication process. But I've had to fill it out multiple times in the past year because of what was done to me. But things are okay now. Like, I've even had to talk to lawyers, and oh yeah, so things are all right. But yeah, so that's a long answer for, I don't really wish this on people. I'm happy to speak for others and to be a face. We need more women in this, but that'll always be a work in progress. We need more women everywhere in the science field and all the things. But yeah, folks, my friends see what I have gone through, and they're like, yeah, I don't need that in my life. My kids don't need this. And so I get why more people haven't come forward, and it's so unfortunate. And I'm still thankful and grateful with all this negative stuff that I just said. I would still do it again. This year has been a roller coaster, but I have met unbelievable people, and some of them I consider family now. And the experience that I've shared even earlier this week at the Capitol at the pre-UAP or the UAP pre-hearing gathering, the meeting that we had, this journey has been worth it.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, speaking of thank you for your service, thank you for suffering this bullshit for the last year in the name of advancing truth and collective understanding. I really appreciate that, and I know millions of other people do too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, one more fun question about sensors, and then I'm moving on. But
Okay.
I thought this would be maybe like a juicier, more fun question. Let's leave the skepticism behind. We ate our vegetables. For dessert, let's imagine it's real. Let's imagine there are multiple kinds of non-human intelligences operating technologically around Earth, poking around, checking us out. Maybe they've been here for a long time. Maybe some of them are new. Maybe some of them are tourists. Maybe some of it's military. Who knows? What kind of conclusions or guesses or lines of inquiry would your sensor experience lead you toward about any such operations of NHI? Like, if they are working around here, given what you've seen, what kind of questions would you have about their operations, or what kind of conclusions do you think you could draw?
I mean, the child in me will always come forward first and be like, we got to pick up my brothers. We need a ride. And then touch all the buttons everywhere. But for seriousness, I would hope that this place is an Earth, especially lately, has been so toxic and so depressing and negative that I would hope that they would have some sort of help for, maybe let's kick cancer out, and and figure out how to never have breast cancer again, or any type of cancer. We don't have to suffer like that. There's some sort of healing for that. And I'm thinking of earthly things of maybe approaching it from love and light, and letting people know that it's not the movies, and they're not here to come and destroy us. And not the Nope. I did like the movie Nope, but it's not coming here to take over. I don't know how to fully answer that. That was a good question. I haven't thought of that before, so I should probably stop stammering through it.
Well, I'm curious if you don't mind, I'd nudge just a little bit more here about just sort of patterns of behavior that you observe. So you didn't see anything super huge. You did see some transmedium stuff. Does it seem reasonable to you to imagine that maybe some of these smaller objects that do go underwater are heading to some underwater bases? Would you rule out the idea of mothership type things hiding out around the planet?
From talking to people that have had firsthand encounters, And seeing what I've seen, absolutely, there has to be a mothership somewhere. It's kind of like, to me, what I'm imagining is something like from Avengers, where they could make their ship invisible. And I know that's sci-fi, but it's something similar like that. Like it's a plasma field that they can control gravity. So there's your gravitational lensing that can happen when something's very dense in space and light warps around it. So it's something similar to that, but they've understood how to do it instead of on a mass star scale to an object, to their ship. And I have been able to talk with the Aerial phenomenon, where in Zimbabwe, the kids, elementary school kids, had the experience. And the lead investigator there talked about that exact same thing, except he didn't use the word gravitational force field or gravitational maneuver, not maneuver, that was a bad word. Gravitational lensing. Um, but the kids would see the ship from different points, and they might see one of the entities, one of the aliens from a different point. They called them creatures. I didn't really like using the word creature because that sounds like you're talking about Bigfoot or whatever. But they would see something from a different perspective from their reference point. And so that's what gravitational lensing would do as well. Something might appear somewhere else from your reference point. So I absolutely think that they could have some sort of mothership or a hub or somewhere nearby. But I also think I'm a full believer in, they haven't been here for decades. They've been here for thousands of years. There's hieroglyphs in Egypt of aliens coming in on a ship and visiting. And I was in a temple last year where the ceiling hinged up, and there were the hieroglyphs of the ships coming in on the wall. And there was even a genie on the wall, and a Black Hawk helicopter as well. And then there, hieroglyphs of fish people, of reptilians, ape people. I mean, it's unbelievable the history that we have with otherworldly visitors, and it's completely forgotten. Like, our reboots have really rebooted us fully, and we've forgotten our own history, that we really know nothing. Yes, they're here, I think, in hubs or like some sort of ships or something.
Okay. Did you notice any geographical concentration in your sensor analysis?
We attempted some of that to like track where things were going. And around the time of COVID was really when somebody was volunteering to assemble a lot of that data. I never saw the end result of that because of the pandemic. And by the time I went back to work every day at NGA was when I got my job rotation at ODNI. So that was when I fully left the task force. So I don't know if that would ever ended up being a thing.
Okay. I'm excited to get to some of the spirit stuff, but I have a few more military questions. So would you mind if we try to engage them as kind of like a lightning round, so we don't get bogged down in the boring suit, but we still touch these things?
No, I'm ready. Okay.
All right. Military lightning round. How many people are in your position of having seen stuff like this? Tens, hundreds, thousands?
I really have no idea. I would say hundreds. But I really don't know. I have no idea who all encompass the task force as a whole.
Okay. Concepts of the Tic Tac or Tic Tac like things as an experimental craft. How does that land for you?
I do think that it's some of it's terrestrial and some non-terrestrial.
Okay. Disinformation campaign. You think there's an active effort to muddy the waters around this subject?
Yes, absolutely. And it's still going on today.
Okay. Maybe related. I kind of hope not, but maybe. What's going on at Aero?
Not a lightning round question. That's too long to answer. I don't know is the end of what I would say.
Okay. Does it seem better now than it was?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Better. Aero is definitely better now than it used to be. And I will say publicly, their analysis group is phenomenal. They do very similar, if not better work than what we did on the task force, doing the investigating and researching and weather data and I know firsthand that their analysis group is amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you think the military has some advanced knowledge of what's going on here?
For sure.
Okay. Do you think there's a reverse engineering program?
Yes.
Do you think we have contingency planning about engaging with non-human intelligence?
Ooh, I don't know that. I hope so. I
Seems
don't know that.
likely just because they plan invasion plans for
Yeah.
Canada, just in case. How do you think about the stovepiping? Is it getting in our way? Is it good in some way? Is it preventing us from understanding things as well as we could?
Yeah, stovepiping sucks.
Okay. Sorry, that was a new word for me recently. I should explain. It's like the disambiguation kind of the sort of the separation of different agencies that don't connect to each other, so that secrets and information don't cross these barriers.
Yeah,
So,
that's one thing. When the task force was dissolved and Aero started, there was like a brick wall around them, and they wouldn't respond to emails and they wouldn't respond to things at first. So now it's different. But yeah, that collaboration, that openness, and the invite for people to participate, that completely stopped. And I still feel that was very unfortunate when that happened.
I'm glad to hear you think it's getting better. Last military lightning round. Do you think intel agencies still do psi stuff?
Yes, I that's my opinion. I don't talk to them. I haven't been asked to do any of that, but yes, I think that they do.
Okay, cool. Thank you for engaging with that. And we didn't get bogged down. We walked out of the Pentagon with our heads held high there. Okay, so let's move on to spirit stuff. And before we do this, I just want to preamble because I listened to somebody do like a really frankly shitty video about your work, and they were using the psi stuff as a way to say all the rest of the things you've said are questionable. And I think that sort of logic, although I understand it because I was a materialist not very long ago, is fundamentally flawed because it hinges on assuming that psi stuff is fake. And so if there's probably nobody watching this that is a skeptic or debunkerly inclined, but just in case anybody is, I want to say it's possible that stuff is real. I would say there's actually a bunch of really good evidence that some of that stuff is real. And I'm sorry if that's probably even offensive to say in front of you, because people who understand that this stuff is real.
It's not at all. I appreciate skeptics, and I still am a scientist and I have a science brain, so I will always have the skepticism, but it's healthy skepticism, and open-mindedness is what matters.
Great take, and also very graceful of you. Just wrapping that up, people should, I think, engage with psi stuff with the expectation that we probably don't understand the universe completely yet. In fact, we know we don't understand the universe completely yet because our standard model is incomplete. And like any scientist can tell you, we're not done. When they estimate that 96% of the universe is made up of stuff we can't identify and aren't sure exists, they're saying that we don't understand the nature of reality completely yet. So just if you're skeptical still, hold space for the possibility that psi stuff is real. And with that preamble established, would you like to talk about your spiritual side? I'm really excited to hear about your journey, and my understanding of it is that it started pretty young, and then you had a near-death experience, which amplified your sort of openness to this world. And then I know you've had some times where you did something sort of professional around this, like you did some professional psi work and like mediumship. And I'm curious about where you are now in your journey and anything that you'd like to tell us about how you got here.
That was so many things. Oh, sorry. Nope. No, that's it. I don't hiccup when I'm nervous, so that's funny that I'm hiccuping so much. I'm very relaxed. So, my journey. Yeah, you're right. Thank you for all the research you did. That was very lovely, summing up everything. But yeah, it started early. I've always been, an R.L. Stine Goosebump book fan. And then any type of scary storybook I could get my hands on when I was little, I was reading them. And like vampires, cryptids, like all the things. And I had my first ghost experience when I was in middle school. I think I was around 12, I want to say. And it was one of my best friends and I, we had the experiences together, and I knew who the spirit was. It was one of my grandpa's best friends, and um, things have happened in my life ever since. And I started having vivid dreams of loved ones. It's specifically a grandmother that I was very close with in high school. She would come to me in dreams, not frequently. It would just be once in a while, not even once a year, really. And then that started growing to other loved ones coming in that had passed away.
Mm.
Then I had I've had more ghost encounters as well over the years, where I've actually like physically seen a ghost in a cemetery, and some friends and I were together, so we had the same experience. That was in college.
Wow.
Then in 2012, I had my near-death experience, and after that was an acceleration on psychic abilities developing, and eventually that led to I had a dream of a friend. While I was in grad school, you meet a lot of people, and I met a friend, and we didn't know each other very well whatsoever. And his grandmother came to me in a dream. I knew everything about her. I knew she was on his father's side of the family. And I mean, I could tell you what she smelled like, and pearls, and where her hair parted, and everything. And I still can see it to this day. And I freaked out. I finally got brave enough to ask him about it, and he validated everything. Got upset at me. We talk a little bit now, but we kind of weren't friends for a long time because he thought I was, using my intelligence community connections and researching him. And I'm like, no, it's so illegal. But it was terrifying. I had no idea what was happening to me, and with the psychic things going on, I needed help, and I love this part of the story. I was briefing the director of NSA, National Security Agency, and he was a 4-star general. So one of my career goals one day was to brief a 4-star general. And I did that before I turned 40. And it was such an amazing moment. And after this briefing, I went to my psychic medium appointment and to get help. So I show up in my dress and everything from briefing. So the director of NSA is known as the DERNZA to shorten for the acronym to have another acronym is the DERNZA. And and it was incredible. And the woman I went to, she gave me not just me healing, but healing for my family, because one of my grandparents came through, and I had a best friend that passed away the year prior, and the things she knew about him. And I'm trying not to get emotional about it. It was amazing. It was so incredible. And towards the end, she said, they're showing me of you in my seat. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you have these skills. You have these abilities. You could be here. And I was like, I'm in. And I just needed to get through grad school first. I had no bandwidth to do anything else. I would go weeks without even turning the TV on because I'd have homework nonstop. And that last semester I was in grad school, I worked full time. I was in 4 classes, and there'd be nights I would get 2 hours of sleep multiple nights in a row. So I was like, I can't start these classes yet, but I will soon. And a month after I graduated grad school was when I started the classes. And so it was an interesting journey, one that, I couldn't control at first. Like, this was happening for me. And I think some of the reasons why it accelerated when it did was to get me to be able to talk about this now with the UAP stuff. Like, everything is married between the UAPs and the spiritual world. And I have my science brain to explain some of the energy and some of the things that are the go-between, and make this a full circle. So it was terrifying, and it was exciting. And a lot of my classes with the teacher, her name's Celeste Woods, and she's given me permission to say her name, and so people could research her and go to her classes if they want. but she would say things in some of the classes and be like, oh, well, your spirit just told me this in a meditation. Doesn't that sound crazy? And I'd raise my hand and be like, no, we actually learned that in astronomy classes. Like, there's a theory of infinite amount of parallel universes and an infinite amount of universes. And it's like, that's not crazy at all. I have a degree that's what part of my degree is. And so to be able to bridge all of these worlds together has been pretty amazing and like quite the rocky journey. So you also asked about where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I took a lot of classes and a lot of certificates in different healing modalities in a little bit of time. So I started getting burnt out. I wanted to do all the things. This world is so flippin' cool that I wanted to do it all, and I wanted it all now. And so I'm at a point now where I'm taking time for myself and for you, like for this UAP cause. I want my heart. Oh, hold on. I want my heart in all of it, and to give my heart fully to doing, a mediumship reading right now. It fully wouldn't be there because I'm so divided, and I'm also burnt out on all of the stuff I did in a little bit of time. I still do a few things on the side for some friends. And they, they're appreciative of what I do for them. And when I also say no, like I'm not going to do that. Strangers are asking me for readings, and I feel bad saying no, but there's also a lot of other mediums out there that they could reach out to. I do feel the pull back coming, or I said that wrong. I feel the spirit pulling me back in. So I think I will be going back into a groove of doing some sort of spiritual work, whether it be like leading meditations again, or maybe mediumship readings or something. But I feel them bringing me back in right now, and I'm along for the ride.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you. I'm curious about this specifically line of thinking where your science brain intersects with your psi experience. And I thought it'd be fun to ask what kind of models of the nature of reality you've come up with as you've learned about the psi world and applied your scientific intelligence.
Yeah, that's really fun. So what I like to talk about is everything is energy, and our souls are eternal, and this body is finite. So we're living this finite experience in this fragile meat suit, and our souls will live on because we're energy. Everything is energy. The crystals in my bracelet, or even the crystal on the face on our watches, everything is energy. And that boils down to even, there's other dimensions that we can't physically see, and that's proven by science. So science has proven 10 dimensions exist. And so once there's a really great video, it's on YouTube, and I think it's from like 2011 or something. It's not recent. It's definitely over 10 years old. Shorter video that describes the different dimensions. And it starts at 1D and goes up to 10D. But as you develop towards 10D, time doesn't exist during, I forget what dimension that time drops out. But at 10D, time isn't there. And that's what I like to relate to people. That's, where God resides, or whoever that you might worship, or maybe not. Maybe it's Gaia, or whomever that you might pray to. And, God is everywhere and nowhere at one time, because he exists at the 10th dimension. That's how he could answer prayers from around the world at any moment, because time doesn't exist there. So you could exist in all places at one time. And that also relates to past, present, and future all exist now. And the only thing that really exists is now, because time isn't real. And it's so great that there has been quantum studies that have been done within the past few years that have proven you could send energy, like somebody says a prayer and somebody will feel the energy, across the world. And then they've also done calculations that at the minute quantum level, time really doesn't exist. And that was my gosh, that was a few months ago. Was that this spring, I think, when that study came out that some scientists have proven the minute quantum is like less than minute, but that time doesn't exist. So my science brain with all of this has been really interesting of explaining things to people to where it's not as scary or it's not as woo woo. It's not, people still don't like to hear the word like witch and witchcraft and like, energy work could technically be described as witchcraft because you're manifesting, and it's such an outdated term for things that has unfortunately just a bad rap. But energy is all around us and we are all co-creators here. And from a science perspective, it always blows my mind that I'm in the seat that I am and I get to see multiple worlds at one time and operate in all of them and be able to converse. And I was fortunate enough to be on the Gaia network last year. Well, I was filmed last year. The show came out this year of bending spoons. And I get to describe how to bend a spoon from a scientific perspective that blends a little bit of that woo-woo and that energy in it, because it needs both things in order to bend the spoon. It's not just like on the Matrix where you stare at it. I like to incorporate just a little bit more science in it because that way, it relates to people better instead of just saying, believe me, and here's energy in this metal. It's been really fun.
So much fun stuff there. One quick side note, is the Dimension video you're talking about a black and white animated video with Yeah, I just rewatched that this week because I remember seeing it in like 2011 and I went and found it. It's very fun.
It's a way to thank you. Krypton agrees. A way to understand it easier as well, because like that, the science talk and the math jargon can get really, really confusing. And I really like that video and the the cartoon's so simple.
Graphics are great. Very satisfying sound effects. Also, the whap and boing stuff.
That's totally the one. I love it.
Weird. It's like low pro by today's standards. It's like 240 or something instead of 1080, but it's worth a watch. It also it pulls in like multiversal possibilities as a part of the physical dimension space, which I'm still sort of getting my head around. My understanding of the fringe of physics on this is that we don't know for sure that there are 10 dimensions, but there are some scientific theories that postulate that there could be, but there are also scientific theories that speculate like there might be infinite dimensions or there might be 9 or 11 or are you okay? Do you need a break?
No, it's my cat's like continuously and starting to annoy me and I'm like, I'm going to shut you out of the room. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
He's getting excited. Well, maybe we're onto something.
Yeah. Physics for a while has proven that, 10 dimensions exist. I've actually heard some people say there's 11. I think that's not actually proven though. So I guess I don't know how to properly answer your question.
Well, that's okay. I was just sort of rambling anyway. I wanted to ask you something a little bit more fun about what kind of spiritual entities you feel confident about existing, and I'm going to put a horizon question that I'm not going to ask you just yet, which is like, what kind of questions do you have about this space that you would love to answer scientifically? But maybe we can start with entities. Like, do you have a spirit team that you're connected with? Do you believe that there's like such a thing as like an oversoul that we can connect to from within our human experience that is like meaningfully us, but on a higher spiritual plane? And I guess we can just start with those few.
Yeah. You ask like questions that aren't straightforward. Yes, to spirit team. So I do know different mediums will tell you different things. So I want to respect what other mediums and spiritual practitioners say. I'm not discounting what somebody else might have been told. So what I was taught and what I experience and what I believe is each of us have a spiritual team and called spirit guides. And we have different guides. They come and go throughout our life. Somebody might just be with me for a couple of months, and some of them are for my entire life. They're usually people that have incarnated. They might even be family members. One of my best friends that passed away, I know he's on my spirit guide team. And even pets. One of my dogs growing up, she's a part of it as well. So they vary and they have different jobs and they want the best for our highest good and trying to help guide us and I'll call it teach us as well. So yes, we do have a team. What was part 2 of your question?
I was also curious about spiritual entities like angels, say, who are like native to the spirit plane, as opposed to having spent some time on the physical plane, like a pet or a friend.
Yeah. So angels are really fun to connect to. They are very high vibration. They also have a little bit of bad rap because we've associated them, millennia ago, as religious entities, when technically angels are aliens and they come from another dimension, right? So a lot of NHI can talk telepathically and come from other dimensions. And there is an alien race that do appear as angels. And we just, thousands of years ago decided that humans need to behave and to follow strict rules and put angels in buckets, and you have heaven and hell, and you must follow this path, and you'll be good if you follow our rules. And humans, we need to be told what to do. So that's what's happened. But yeah, angels definitely exist. So they are a higher vibration. So not all mediums can communicate with them. So I have some of my friends in some of my classes over time have a really difficult time communicating with angels because they are so, like, when I talk to like my grandpa, he is on a plane up here and we're down here. So I have to raise my vibration and he has to lower his. So for angels, they're even, spirit guides are above a loved one, and angels are even higher than that. And so they have to lower and I have to raise. So it's just a little bit more difficult to communicate with them. I, for some reason, communicate with them very easily and love their energy because they are truly around us all the time. And I get to let people know that they're truly loved and they have something around them that wants what's best for them. They just have to ask. So some of those entities can't interfere with us because of our free will, and we have to ask them directly for help.
This might sound like kind of a silly question, but do you get the sense that as you go higher up the vibrational, I don't know, bandwidth, plane layer of planes or whatever, that population narrows until we're at the top and it's like universal God or something? Like, so presumably there are billions of ghosts because there have been billions of conscious physical entities on Earth alone. So maybe there are gazillions of ghosts. But moving up a couple levels, do you imagine that there's like a narrower population triangle? Like, do you think there are fewer angels than there are ghosts? And is it as it is? I know I said it would be a silly.
It's all right. This is fun. Yes, there is, like, I'll call it a hierarchy. And so I'll use your word ghost. So when I say the word ghost, that means an earthbound haunting type energy. So something that hasn't crossed over. And so
there may be like in between the physical world and the next.
And so ghosts have a very, like, the earthbound spirits have a very low vibration because they haven't gone to crossed over into, the other side, heaven, or whatever people might believe in.
So it's like one notch up vibrationally.
Yeah. So there's definitely a hierarchy. And one of, I actually took an angel communication class at one point, and that teacher also talked about the hierarchy. So you have, it's kind of like, let's say, God, whoever you pray to God. God, please help me release this financial burden, for whatever it is. And then God's like, all right, taps, who was it? Archangel
Metatron.
Sandalphon? Yeah, maybe Metatron. One of them do respond to prayers. And so they have, I think of it like in a movie where there's a bunch of, from like the 40s, the operators for phones where they had to do the plugs and
Yeah.
so that's what I imagine is like a room full of kind of angels doing this and trying to weave the proper, threads into place to help respond and activate the other angels to help orchestrate and try to respond to your prayer. So there's definitely a hierarchy that I was taught where, a prayer goes up and then things get filtered down. And so you also have your guardian angels in there as well. And what I was told, and then I've also experienced it as well during my spiritual practice, that guardian angels are with you for life. And they could potentially be with you every time you like incarnate on earth. It'll be the same guardian angels with you because they know you best. But guardian angels have also never incarnated on earth. So they've never had earth lives like some of your spirit guides might have had. So sometimes they don't know how to respond to things and they'll have to work with your spirit guides because they don't understand how much it sucks here and how difficult this like fragile skin suit is. And so this is a long answer for yes, there is a hierarchy.
Okay. I've heard some people say, I've read a bunch of books about this. I'm very curious and open to the subject. Sort of newly at this phase in my life, I was like an annoying, strict materialist for most of my youth. But I've heard people say that sort of some of these angel entities are better at doing some things than others. And that sort of sounded like the operator metaphor you were suggesting. Do you imagine that there's like a narrow enough population that it could be like a couple dozen angels who are like, that's it for the of that higher level, and they're like engaging with beings across the galaxy or the universe, but there are only like 6 of them or 12 of them or something?
I don't know about limiting to numbers. Especially after my trip to Egypt, after every temple or pyramid we left, it was like, we know nothing. We know nothing about our existence, about our history, about anything and everything. It was just like our minds were always blown and we know nothing. So I don't like limiting stuff like that to a finite amount of numbers because like there's infinite amount of universes out there. So why say there's only 12 angels or whatever you were asking, like angel types you were asking about, when there's an infinite amount of lots of things and we're eternal souls. I don't like saying there's only 12.
Okay.
I think there's more than that.
Curious. I was wondering if you like this analogy. I've started to think, I think I'm borrowing this from Nick Gold, who is a UAP transparency advocacy guy. And he uses the analogy of germ theory for our scientific revolution moment. It sounds a little icky, but this feels right to me that there might be like a world of life, basically, that we are just beginning to, at a scientific level, understand. And we might be like stepping into this universe where, as you said, there are like countless kinds of lives or countless entities that we just like didn't notice before, or we noticed in our like narrative traditions and our religious history, but we haven't like scientifically started to explore or understand. And I'm curious, just big picture worldview, do you think it's possible / likely that there are both extraterrestrial technologies and peoples out there and native to the spirit realm technologies and peoples in the universe, and we might be seeing both of those things in our NHI UAP experiences?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of things have been interchanged throughout time, and I've heard stories from others on their encounters with NHI that technology is shared or I'll say like maybe planted. So it'll be like, I've heard fiber optics are from them as in them. So yeah, we definitely have some sort of mixed all the things. And I mean, we wouldn't exist without a star exploding billions of years ago. So we're made of stars and we are all one. So yeah, we are definitely intermixed here on Earth right now.
So is it your feeling that there are both aliens and angels in the equation? Like there are other intelligent species on planets in the like physical universe, and that there are also other beings who operate on these spiritual planes that pervade the universe? Or do you feel like we're mostly, if not entirely, witnessing spiritual entities, and that could account for all of our UAP experiences?
Um, think what I think I'm processed what you're asking. Yes, we all exist at the same time. So like if I were to do a meditation, I know that angels will be around me, hugging me immediately. Is that kind of what you're asking? If like
Uh,
things are interacting at one time?
well, I was trying to ask if you think there are both aliens and angels. Like, are there other
Yes. Yeah.
biological entities? Yeah. Okay. And do you
Yes.
feel intuitively like UAP relate to both of those different kinds of entities? That some of them might be like physical entities from other areas in our galaxy, and some of them might be spiritual entities who are like intersecting with us through various kinds of means, like either technological or spiritual.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my ghost hunts that I did, so I used to go to, I didn't do it this year, but 2 years prior to that, 2 years in a row, I went to the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside, Oregon.
Oh, cool.
And the friends I went with, I would do a live ghost hunt at the conference in Oregon. And one year we did a Zoom session with some other friends in Tombstone, Arizona, and they walked around the room, and I actually had an alien show up during the ghost hunt.
Huh.
And it totally took me off guard, and of course, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, if you, because they had a SLS camera, and so I was like, if you look to the left, wherever you're walking, look to your left there. And I described the height and the arms and the fingers, and they immediately panned, and exactly what I described was right there, and it was on the SLS camera. So yeah, so all of that
Wow.
exists at the same time.
This is so interesting. So it suggests to me a couple things. One, that there's like a basic biological level of sort of not super spiritual, but like maybe open to intersection with spiritual type life, like garden variety, that we're you, me, the trees, our animals. But then there's stuff that's like native to the spirit realm, and that could
Mhm.
be angels. It could be beings who operate in other parts of the galaxy. Then it seems reasonable to imagine that there might be kind of like intersection type creatures who can
Yeah,
sort of move between these worlds.
yeah. So it's all energy. So they understand energy and physics way more than we do, right? So they have the ability to speak telepathically and to show up, and so their energy footprint still appears on this ghost hunting equipment. And so they can interchange with each other. I have definitely encountered NHI in my meditations, and that's been happening since the pandemic. And the first time it happened, totally freaked out. Did
Mm,
not, and I rode with it. I trusted, like I have protection around me, and so
mm.
I trusted what was there and what was being said, and it was pretty amazing and kind of life changing what they shared with me, which was information about a past life of mine
Wow.
that has been very impactful to I guess that it helped me with my spiritual journey to know about that past life.
Mm.
Um so yeah, so it all exists together and they interchange, and some of those NHI, it was an Arcturian that first came to me. They work with me during healing sessions, so Reiki sessions. I'm able to use some of their energy to help provide healing for people, because they know how to do that way better than us.
And when you say Arcturian, is that a classification of an extraterrestrial or a classification of
Yes,
a spiritual
a
being?
race, Arcturus. So Arcturus is a star and a planetary system. As what? Well, I'm saying planetary system as I hit a button on my watch. So there are different races out there. There's a really amazing book. I don't remember the author, but it's the Encyclopedia of Extraterrestrials. It came out a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't handle all of the ETs, but it does talk about a handful of them and if they're malevolent, benevolent, their purpose, and Arcturians are one of them. So there's Lyra is another, it's constellation, and so there's Lyrans, Cirrus actually, because Cirrus is a star system. So there's Cirrus A and Cirrus B. NHI races. There's reptilians. A lot of people know about reptilians. They come from Draco. Draconians, Zeta Reticuli, they're known as the Grace, and mostly associated with abductions when they have abducted people. I don't know. I could slow down if you're writing. I could slow down.
It's okay. I actually got that book for my brother for Christmas, but I haven't read it myself.
That's awesome.
I'm curious. Do you
That's really
think?
great.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning it and for laying out some of those beings. I'm curious, do you think there's a federation of some kind? Do you think there's some like political organization to these diverse entities?
Yeah. Some of it I've known from, I'll have a meditation or some sort of experience, and I'm like, okay, what in the world? So I'll go to the Google machine and I'll be like, and I'll type out some of what I experienced or names I got. And so I know of the Galactic Federation, and there is, wars and stuff that happen galactically, and there's an overall kind of like NATO. So let's use an Earth reference. So something like NATO is also out there.
Interesting. Do you think there's an equivalent of that in the spirit realm, or do you think that sort of galactic NATO just has spirit realm elements?
I have not thought of that. I don't know.
Interesting. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, that's a really interesting question, that if there's some sort of overall hierarchy in the spiritual world. I guess that to me, what comes to mind is the hierarchy question you asked earlier about angels. Mm-hmm. I think that would be my answer, is yes, that there would be from the spiritual world.
Just this just bounced off my brain, so I'll bring it in here. Does this idea of a universal consciousness at the top resonate for you with the simulation hypothesis? I've been reading a bunch of consciousness first kind of philosophy recently and thinking, I don't know, this kind of sounds like the kind of metaphysics that would be compatible with the concept of a simulation. Like if we were all operating on the brain of some supercomputer, then we would all be connected. We would all be fundamentally the same material, and maybe God is the brain of this thing we're living in.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dolores Cannon. So she taught. Well, she used to talk. She's unfortunately no longer on the Earth plane. Mm-hmm. But she talked about that same thing. We're in a matrix. We're in a simulation. Getting out of the matrix is waking up and talking about the things that we're talking about and realizing we are the creators of our simulation. And so before we incarnate, we have a soul contract that we basically make a checklist for. So when we incarnate, especially on Earth, there's things we need to learn and to grow. And so we have this checklist. So we have created our life ahead of time. Think about you with this checklist, you're like, okay, I want to meet this person at this time, and there's this UAP stuff that's going to be happening, and I'm going to have to get enough gumption and bravery to come forward. Okay, check that off. So there's certain things that you check off, and so I fully believe a simulation, and that after these bodies are gone and dead, we continue to evolve and grow on, like, wherever, wherever you believe, like heaven or whatever, the other side, uh, that the simulation quite isn't a simulation there. Because that's again where time doesn't exist, and here we created annoyingly time, and make this more of a 3D experience because of all of that. Because, like, yeah, I'm starting to get tired.
Okay, I'll bring us in for a landing there. Just jumping off that, it sounded to me like the concept of a soul contract would be like you could pick your time. Like if you wanted to live in ancient Egypt, you could maybe try a timeline there, and if you wanted to live on Alpha Centauri during their singularity, you could check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really fun idea. I did want to leave before we leave the whole conversation. If people are curious about exploring some of this psi stuff themselves, I've heard you note in other places that you would recommend some like practice of protection. Do you want to talk at all about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. That is probably the number one question I get on my social media. And it's so important. You're just like living on Earth. You don't know if somebody's going to shoot you or not, right? Especially this week. You don't know the face value of people that you pass by. So it's the same for the spiritual world. You don't know who might be good and who might be bad. So it's better to have protection while you connect to the other side. So I tend to like just a simple, I'll call it a prayer to Archangel Michael. He is God's protector, and he's also protector of many things. He's known as Saint Michael to some of cops and first responders, so he's the protector for them. But he's a defender, so I ask him for protection. And depending on the situation, like I don't have the same words every time, so it'll fluctuate depending on what it is. So, like, Archangel Michael, please protect me while I do this interview. Let no harm come to me. Let no energy other than love and light come in, and always protect me in my house as well, so you could protect yourself, while you're driving, or from ill intention of viewers sending bad energy my way. I ask for the protection. So if I'm doing something meditation wise, I will always establish a safe space for everybody I'm leading a meditation for. And so I'll ask him, Archangel Michael, please protect us during this meditation. Let nothing but love and light come through right now. Let only truth and words of wisdom and help be brought forward. So that's funny. My lights just flickered.
I saw that.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you. You never know when you talk with a medium what's going to happen to the technology.
Yeah.
So another thing I like to think of and teach, especially kids. So kids are uber sensitive. 100% of people are born with abilities. We just don't believe it after we grow up and we're told it was imaginary friends and that's nonsense and blah, 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 whatever. So if parents have kids that they want to be protected as well, put a bubble around them. It's a bubble of light. And so there are a couple of ways to imagine it. You just imagine a bubble of light suddenly being around you. It could be any color. My color of mine changes all the time. And that bubble comes from within us. And it is love and light. And it could be God or creator, like whoever you believe in. We are made of that. We are all, sparks of God inside of us. And so that love and light protects us and will, bounce off the bad energy or negative energy. And so to teach kids about it, I like to say, imagine blowing a bubble, like a giant bubble, and that bubble has a color to it. And you feel so much love radiating from this bubble, and then you step inside of it. And so that's them stepping inside of their protection. You could bubble other people. So I could protect my cat or, my parents who live a different time zone away. And there's even some books about psychic protection as well. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know I got one off of Amazon. A good friend recommended it to me, and it is really good. It has different tools, but the main thing is the intention. So what I've enjoyed about working in the spiritual world is it's intense and there's a little bit of freedom with it. Gosh, my lights. Um, so by meaning the freedom, there's rules there because we need protection and there's certain rules in place, but there's still like you can do what you want. I grew up being a scientist. I grew up following protocols and scientific method. And you start with a number and you work through an equation and you get something else and you have a result. Well, instead of the answer being 5, the answer could be purple or clouds or whatever. And so now with the spiritual world, you have this freedom of intent. And so you intend for harm to not be around you. You intend for that. Or you could even imagine walking in the door from a long day at work and you're cranky and you're tired and you're going to bring that energy in the door with you. And instead of bringing it in, imagine like a scrubber brush, like at a car wash, and you walk through it and leave that behind. So it's a lot of spiritual work is intent. And I just find that to be so incredible. Like we truly are powerful beings and we don't even know it.
So last question, blending science and spiritual intent. How would you like to see us move into the years ahead with regard to both investigating phenomena we don't currently understand and holding our own posture of grace, curiosity, openness, and mutual support?
Yeah, I love this question. You had some good questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, what it all boils down to is love. And it sounds cheesy, and a lot of people don't like to hear it because it's very cheesy and basic. And but that's what it boils down to. So approach things with an open mind and be respectful when somebody doesn't agree. Just because I see orbs in the Capitol building above the Capitol, somebody doesn't want to believe that. And so they're saying it's birds. I'm sorry, birds don't move the way that the start and stop, the 5 maneuverables, right? So we observe those with our eyeballs. And people are trying to say that it's birds. And just because somebody doesn't believe it doesn't mean I'm going to attack them. I'm going to give them grace. We're all on a different journey here, and we have the free will to believe what we do. And so I'm happy that we have the skeptics and the people that think it's birds when no bird's going to make a figure 8 or do sudden stop and step maneuvers. Drones don't do that, and I'm not looking for validation for things I've experienced, for things I've seen. Talking about Arcturians, I don't expect people to drink my Kool-Aid and to just believe everything, but I'm here to talk about my experiences and share it in hopes that it might resonate with one person. So overall, I hope that we could eventually come to terms with at least approaching things from an opened, healthy mind instead of the negativity and the hate and the dividedness that has come about in the UAP community, because we are all one. We're all on the same planet together. Well, I guess most of us, we've established that now. And yeah, it's been an interesting ride. And I really, truly believe that people will have more of that open, healthy mind instead of the debunking and grifter and all this negativity that's happening now.
Well, thank you so much for sharing so much of your time generously with us today. Is there anywhere you'd like to point people for something that you want to promote or something you think people should go check out? Or I don't know if you like to be contacted or if you prefer people just go read a book or touch grass or look up at the sky.
Touch grass. Yes. Go hug trees. So I'm a big tree hugger and grounding, and I talk to trees, and I just love, I grew up a farmer, so I'm kind of biased because I grew up with my hands in the soil, but yes, go hug trees, go ground yourself, connect barefoot, put down the phone and just walk and see where your mind goes and see where your mindset goes to, like not mindset, see where your thoughts go as to calming down and taking a deep breath and some slow breaths as well, because that'll calm your nervous system. I'm like, oh, nature. Contact. So Sarah Grace Warrior is me on Instagram. Um, Sarah Grace Psychic Medium is on Facebook. I have had a lot of problems on Facebook from people creating duplicate accounts
Mm,
and scammer accounts. I have tried hard to get some of them taken down, and
mm,
as soon as they're removed, they are right back up. So I would never send somebody a friend request because it is a business account. And so yeah, I can't control it. I'm trying to, but scammers are going to scam, and I'm sorry for that. Sarah Grace Warrior at gmail.com is my email. And my website's out there, but I haven't touched it in quite a while. So you can you'll find it, but probably not helpful to reach out to me on that. I think that's it. But yeah, I am a huge fan of nature. I'm like you. I'm glad you brought up nature because if you go to my Instagram page or whatever, you'll see me. I post regularly. I call it Climb a Tree or Hug a Tree Tuesday. Just
nice.
trying to get people to get outside and connect with nature just for a moment. And that one little moment might be able to change your mindset for a few days during your difficult week.
That's really good advice. Well, thank you again so much for your open mind and your open heart and your kindness in sharing your time and presence with us, Sarah. It's been a joy to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love your Hubble image in the background, by the way. Talking about like gravitational lensing back there. That's one of them where time anyways, yes.
Me too.
Thank you so much.
Deep field.
I appreciate your background funness.
Thank you. Yeah, same to your kitty cat.
This is great. So ridiculous.
I look forward to speaking with you again someday as things continue to evolve fascinatingly. And I wish you health and grace and peace and fun in the meantime.
Thank you. And same to you. It all goes back to you. And thanks for everybody listening as well.
And that's the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening or watching. If you like WTUFO and you want it to keep existing, support us at patreon.com/WTUFO or on YouTube or on Buzzsprout for as little as you want per month. Patreon or YouTube or Buzzsprout, this show is brought to you by you. So thank you very much for your support. I hope you keep listening, and I hope you have a lovely day.